Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our National Crime Victims' Rights Week event. My name is Jessica Santos. I am the director of the Crime Victims Advocate Program here at the Queens District Attorney's Office. One of the many avenues of support is our Crime Victim Advocate Program. We are here to provide a safe space for you. I will be the moderator for this evening along with our advocates. First, we have a few housekeeping items to go over. The chat function has been disabled for security purposes. Please utilize the Q&A function on your Zoom screen for any questions or comments throughout the program. We do have translation services available for those joining us via Zoom. Please take a moment to move the mouse over your screen and locate the globe icon. Once you click that icon, you may select your language preference to activate the translation services. Tonight's program is available in Spanish, Mandarin, and Bengali. Hola a todos, bienvenidos a nuestro programa hoy. Mi nombre es Jessica Santos y seré la moderadora de esta noche. Primero tenemos algunos elementos de limpieza para repasar. La función de la ventana de diálogo se ha desactivado por motivos de seguridad. Utilice la función de preguntas y respuestas en la pantalla de Zoom para cualquier pregunta o comentario a lo largo del programa. Tenemos servicios de traducción disponibles para quienes se unan a través de Zoom. Tómese un momento para navegar sobre la pantalla y ubicar el icono de globo. Después de seleccionar el icono de globo, puedes seleccionar su idioma de preferencia para activar los servicios de traducción. El programa de esta noche está disponible en español, mandarín y bengali. To begin, I have the honor of introducing our Chief, Aisha Green, of the Rehabilitation Programs and Restorative Services Bureau. Welcome, Chief Green. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much and good evening, everyone. I'm truly excited to be here. I actually have the distinct pleasure of introducing the person responsible for making this evening possible. One who cares deeply about the borough of Queens and has spent much of her career in public service working to improve and protect the lives of Queens residents. D.A. Katz is the first woman elected to serve as the District Attorney of Queens and has established the first all-women leadership team with Chief Executive ADA Jennifer Nyberg and Chief of Staff Camille Chen-Kifat. Since taking office during an unprecedented time in 2020, the District Attorney has led her office through a nationwide pandemic to ensure the safety of the more than 2 million people who live and work in this borough. Among her year one accomplishments are the creation of the Rehabilitation Programs and Restorative Services Bureau to ensure that people are connected to programs and services, and an enhanced Community Partnerships Division to strengthen ties to the many communities that comprise the most diverse county in America. As Queens DA, she brings a steady, community-centered approach to the office while also helping to implement meaningful changes in the criminal justice system. Please welcome District Attorney Melinda Katz.
Thank you, Ms. Green. I appreciate all your kind words. Thank you to Jessica Santos. Thank you to Dirk McCall. I think Colleen Babb might be on here also. Michael Grosvenor, my whole team, which I'll go through. But thank you for joining us tonight for my annual National Crime Victims Week. Our office has marked this occasion since 2007. And I believe it's an important way that we continue to mark the relationship between my office and the Queens County community in this important way. I'd like to acknowledge the participants tonight: Rita Abadi, Mount Sinai Sexual Assault and Violence Intervention Program; Lindsay Curtis, Mount Sinai; also Dale Carter, Safe Horizons Queens Criminal Court Program Director; Ms. Carolyn Dixon, where to go from here, CEO; Susan McGee, Parents of Murdered Children, Queens Chapter Co-Leader; Jahi Fisher, Korean American Family Service Center; Reverend Barrett; Mike Mitch; Kristen Josel, who is going to entertain, I believe, and leaders from my team: Aisha Green, who you heard from, Chief of Rehabilitation and Restorative Services, Eric Rosenbaum. He's the chief of SVB, Special Victims Bureau. Michael Bromner, chief of the new Hate Crimes Bureau, now about 6 months old, but new under my administration. Karen Ross, deputy chief in the Homicide Bureau. Jessica Melton, chief of Human Trafficking. Mary Kay Quinn, unit chief of DV. Yasika Santos, director of CVAP, who will be the moderator. That's Jessica Santos. When I was sworn in last year, I promised that I would provide a steady hand to this office and confront the daunting problems that we face every day. I promised that I would work hard to prosecute offenders while offering crime victims the support and the services that they need to move forward. Over the last year, throughout the pandemic, we've done the work aggressively prosecuting those who prey upon our most vulnerable, getting gun traffickers and human traffickers and the drivers of violent crime in our neighborhoods off the streets, pursuing white-collar criminals and unscrupulous thieves who defraud hardworking residents. And we also combat hate-inspired bias crimes. We've also restructured our office, all while remaining focused on the goal of keeping our county's residents safe, particularly those that are most vulnerable to being preyed upon. The Special Victims Bureau is charged with investigating and prosecuting felonies involving sex crimes against adults and against children, physical abuse of children, violence against the elderly. This bureau is staffed by some of the most senior attorneys in the office, all of whom
Esta oficina tiene la
training in informed interviewing and the best practices in the forensic interviewing of children. Child victims benefit from our state-of-the-art child-focused Queens Child Advocacy Center, where all child sexual and physical abuse cases are handled. The Child Advocacy Center provides a dedicated team of ADAs who specialize in working with children in the same location as Child Protective and Social Services provided through the New York City Administrative of Children's Services and Safe Horizons, and a squad of NYP detectives whose sole focus is crimes against children, so the kids aren't being shuffled back and forth. The Domestic Violence Bureau continues to partner with the Mayor's Office and the NYPD on the coordinated approach to prevent stalking, a homicide prevention program that focuses on intervention before stalking behavior becomes violence. The Queens DA's office has a 24/7 domestic violence helpline, which I would love it if you would give all of your constituencies on this call. 718-286-4410. And that is 24/7. You can call either to speak to an ADA or you can call to get help from Safe Horizons. I'm also proud of our new bureaus, including the Human Trafficking Bureau, the Hate Crimes Bureau. Homicide Cold Case Unit is the first unit ever in Queens County dedicated entirely to investigating and solving the borough's oldest, and by the way, the most challenging unsolved homicides. The unit uses groundbreaking forensic testing and cutting-edge investigative techniques, and they examine unsolved crimes to bring long-awaited justice and closure to victims and to their families. The Queens DA's office is committed to supporting the needs of crime victims and survivors and remembering that their lives have struggles that they need to overcome. Tonight, our theme is supporting victims, building trust, engaging communities. Those who are in victim services and allied professions collaborative with survivors and their families to help combat violence here in Queens County while respecting their rights. We want to acknowledge that work, and we want to acknowledge the achievements of each of you that are part of this event tonight. This event is just a snapshot of the commitment the Crime Victims Advocate Program has, and we are proud of the work that they have done. In 2020, the Crime Victim Advocate Program offered its services to more than 4,000 individuals in my office. The Queens County District Attorney's Office Crime Victim Advocate Program is a New York State office grant-funded program that provides a wide range of support services to victims throughout the county. That professional, clinical, and criminal justice support is provided by a staff of licensed therapists, witness outreach assistants, and case managers some of whom you'll hear from on this program tonight. To mark National Crime Victims' Rights Week, tonight's panel aims to shed light on issues our communities are facing today. We want you to know that what we are doing is supporting you, how you can get engaged, and most importantly, that the doors of our offices are open to all of you. Throughout our program, advocates from the Crime Victims Advocate Program will introduce speakers and participants. Our legal professionals and our partner providers at the Sexual Assault and Violence Intervention Program, Parents of Murdered Children, and Where Do We Go From Here, and Korean American Family Service Center will tell you more about their services. We do the work to make Queens safe together. And to all of you that are participating tonight, on a personal note, many of us have worked together for a very long time. I want to thank you for continuing our friendship, continuing our partnership, and I'm just so proud of the work that we're all doing together. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, District Attorney Katz. My name is Tiffany Clemmings, and I'm a licensed social worker here at the Queens DA through the Crime Victim Advocate Program. I have the pleasure of introducing Eric Rosenbaum, Chief of the Special Victims Bureau. Chief Rosenbaum has been a prosecutor in Queens County since 1994 and was promoted to Bureau Chief of Special Victims by DA Katz in January 2020. Please welcome Chief Rosenbaum.
Thank you very much. You know, we have such a robust cast here to really describe the incredible services we have for the victims of crime here in Queens. I'm honored to be among them. I'm going to tell you for just a few minutes about what it is that the Special Victims Bureau does and what services we can offer. As DA Katz said, we handle felony level violence. That's sexual violence against adults and children, physical violence against children, and violence against the elderly, as well as investigating child fatalities. It is tough work. We love the work. The only people who come to the Bureau are people who really are passionate for it and want to be here, and who the Bureau management wants to be here. So it's a handshake to make sure that everyone is committed to the challenges that we face every day here, day in and day out. We try to create an environment where victims truly feel heard and understood, that their ordeals are something familiar to us, and that they feel safe here when it comes time for them to tell their stories. In order to create that environment, we start with our ADAs. Each of the ADAs has a background training in the physical, the biological effects of trauma on the brain, on memory, on recall, how it affects you short-term and long-term, so they could understand the people who are coming to see them. If not having lived their experience, at least trying to understand it in a way where they can really empathize. In addition, every DA in this Bureau has to undergo a training program that teaches them about the best interviewing techniques for survivors of trauma. That's something that is a new development in the field. In the last 5 years, we've learned a tremendous amount about how victims convey and communicate information about what has happened to them. And we let them do it here in a way that they are most comfortable, not in the way that we want them to. We let it be victim-centered, survivor-centered, and we will build our cases around them. We don't force them into some mold and ask them to do something that would be easier for them to do in a different way. In addition, we have a host of support for victims that come into the Special Victims Bureau, and it really starts at the reporting of a crime. So if someone reports a sexual assault, they will be able to receive medical treatment at one of 3 centers of excellence in Queens County, at the area hospitals, Queens Hospital Center, Elmhurst Hospital, Mount Sinai Queens, and soon New York Presbyterian Queens. It used to be called Booth Memorial for the old timers. But in each one of these places, a sexual assault examiner who is specially trained and not a dermatology intern who showed up in the ER for a rotation. A specially trained examiner will show up within 1 hour and go through the process with the survivor so that they, from the beginning, are getting a different kind of more sensitive treatment than they would have in the past. Moving just ahead a little quickly, because I don't want to take any other time from the other speakers. As the DA said, we do have a dedicated children's advocacy center where it's like one-stop shopping for children. We have doctors, the police, Administration for Children's Services, the Protective Services Agency, Safe Horizon Counseling, everyone in one location so the child doesn't have to tell their story more than once and they don't have to move around. It's very important, Queens, that people understand we do not inquire about immigration status, ever. It's irrelevant to the prosecution and seeking justice. If a survivor has concerns about immigration, we can connect them with the right services to assist them. But we will not make those inquiries, and it should be known that it is a safe place to come for help, regardless of your status here. In addition, languages are not a barrier. We will find the right interpreter no matter what language you speak. And finally, if someone needs to report a crime, they can do it by walking into a precinct near them, walking into the precinct where the crime occurred. They can call our office and we'll offer them guidance, or they can call the Queens Special Victims Squad. Their number is 718-520-9232, and they will make sure that the survivor gets routed to the correct place to report what has happened to them. I'm going to stop. I could go on much longer, but we're limited in time, and I thank everyone for really tuning in today.
Thank you so much, Chief Rosenbaum. Our next panelist is Jessica Melton, Chief of the Human Trafficking Bureau. Since 2007, Chief Melton has dedicated her career to prosecuting human trafficking and related crimes. Please welcome Chief Melton.
Thank you, Tiffany, for the introduction, and thank you to DA Katz and Jessica Santos for including the Human Trafficking Bureau in this presentation, and for creating this innovative new bureau to combat sex and labor trafficking in Queens County. The topic of crime victims' rights is particularly important to me, not only because it directly relates to the issues that victims of human trafficking face, but also on a personal level. I was driven to this profession from my experience as a crime victim survivor. Process of detectives, sketch artists, and the years later, and testifying through that lens, get more accessible to victims to make sure that they are considered in the process. My isolated experience pales in comparison to the trauma that trafficking survivors face when confronted with our legal system. Traffickers target the most vulnerable members of our society and compel them to engage.
Melton, I am so sorry to interrupt. You just froze for about 30 seconds. If you could just go back maybe a paragraph. We just had a bit of technical difficulty. I'm so
okay.
sorry.
No problem.
You're good now.
Okay. I discussed my experience as a crime victim and going through the process and going through the court process, which drove me to seek a career to make our criminal justice system more accessible to victims and make sure that victims are considered in the process when they are confronted with it. My experience is small compared to the trauma that trafficking survivors face when confronted with the legal system. Traffickers target the most vulnerable members of our society and compel them to engage in either sex or labor for commercial gain, commercially exploiting them. And traffickers often target those who do not feel like they have a voice. They target those who are discriminated against or marginalized in some way by our society. They typically target those who face racial discrimination or economically disadvantaged, persons who are suffering discrimination based on their gender or gender identity, or even their immigration status. They often target people with mental health issues or children who are vulnerable and at risk by their age, but that risk increases monumentally when one is a product of our group home or foster care system. And they target these vulnerabilities and continue to exploit them. District Attorney Katz, in creating this Human Trafficking Bureau under my leadership, is sending a clear message that no matter who you are or what your status is as a victim, you are entitled to the equal protection under the law. And our Bureau, like Eric explained, so I won't reiterate everything, employs a victim-centered and trauma-informed approach when coming into contact with victims. We are focused on prosecuting cases, but we're equally focused on providing help and assistance to those who need it the most and not overstepping their comfort level. All of our ADs are the same way trained in how trauma affects the brain to help understand the perspective of every victim that comes before us. We utilize the Crime Victims Advocates Program, but we also use a wide variety of partner specialized service care providers to connect trafficking survivors to appropriate resources to recover both emotionally and mentally, but also to recover holistically to ensure that they're all given the tools to safely exit the sex trade and move toward a free and economically empowered life, free of exploitation. We provide services, whether it be treatment, we connect them to services for treatment, housing, counseling, legal or immigration help, or even as small as helping someone obtain their identification that was taken away from them during the course of their trafficking to regain their independence. In this manner, not only do we respond reactively to try to reach out to trafficking survivors, but we also work proactively by doing educational and preventative outreach to try to stop victimization through trafficking before it occurs. I believe our Bureau's contact has been shared. If anyone is looking for any help, whether or not you want to report a crime or not, or any information to report trafficking, or even to discuss your options in reporting, or to seek us going out to do educational work in your organizations, please reach out to the Trafficking Bureau.
Thank you so much, Chief Melton. Our next panelist is the Chief of the Hate Crimes Bureau, Michael Brovner. Chief Brovner has been with the Queens District Attorney's Office since 1995. He has trained prosecutors and law enforcement officials on hate crimes, gangs, and effectively using expert testimony. Please welcome Chief Brovner.
Hi, thank you, everyone. I really appreciate being here. When I think about crime victims, especially the victims of hate crimes, the cases that we deal with are really hard on the victims. Unlike a regular crime victim who's the victim of, let's say, a robbery or an assault, these victims are victims because of who they are. They're targeted because of something that's intrinsic to them, something that's a defining aspect of them, be it their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, their national origin. And because of that, there can be real serious psychological issues for them dealing with that. They can be feeling isolated, depressed, alienated from other people in their community. And these crimes can be really not only emotionally difficult, but hard for them, especially if part of the process requires them to come out in public, testifying in public. There's a lot of media attention because of all the victims involved, not just the victim of the particular crime, but everyone in their community also feels it. So there's a lot of media attention. So when we are dealing with one of these cases, we spend more time than an average victim, than we would with an average victim because of the nature of these cases. And we rely on CVAP to help with that and refer the victims to all the services that can be provided. One of the things that DA Katz did when she first came in, within her first 100 days, is she set up the hate crime unit, the hate crime bureau. And we're very fortunate in Queens because it's one of the few offices that actually has a hate crime bureau, where the bureau is focused exclusively on prosecuting and investigating these type of cases. And that gives us a lot of ability to work specifically with these cases. We have really close ties with the NYPD Hate Crime Task Force, so we can work on making sure these cases are prosecuted appropriately, where they're right at the very beginning, so we can reach out to the victims and let them know that we're going to be working with them from the very beginning. And as Eric said, whether you're here legally or not, it doesn't matter. Neither the NYPD nor the DA's office will inquire. It's irrelevant. We just want to make sure that the victims are protected and that they can rest assured that we're going to do everything we can for them. One of the other things that we do is we do community outreach, not only appearing on these type of larger Zoom type conferences, but we are happy to go wherever we can to let people know that we're there for them and to create that bridge and dialogue so that people know that we're there and that we take these cases exceptionally seriously. We really rely on people reporting crimes, hate crimes. There's a lot of underreporting of these type of crimes. So it's important that if you are a victim of a hate crime or if you see a hate crime, call 911. There are other ways of reporting as well, but the best way is to call 911 quickly so we can make sure that justice is served in these cases. So that's why I want to say, I believe my contact information is being shared. So please keep me posted. If there's anything I can do, I'm happy to do it. And thank you for the time.
Thank you, ADA Ravner. My name is Maria Pinto. I'm a bilingual crime victim advocate a bilingual crime victim advocate here in the Queens District Attorney's Office. Our next panelist is Deputy Bureau Chief Karen Ross. In 1998, Deputy Ross joined the Queens District Attorney's Office and is now Chief of the Cold Case Unit within the Homicide Bureau. In 2019, she received the Crime Victims' Rights Award for her dedication, compassion, and kindness with crime victims. Welcome, Deputy Chief Karen Ross.
Thank you, Maria, and thank you everyone for including the Homicide Bureau in this panel discussion this evening. One of life's greatest tragedies is to lose a loved one due to an act of senseless violence. And those are the tragedies that members of the Homicide Bureau work with and have to deal with on a daily basis. Everyone in our Bureau recognizes that the struggle for these family members is a difficult one. First and foremost, they've lost someone that they love. They lost someone that they love through an act of senseless violence. And then they have to deal with what is oftentimes the very grueling process of the criminal justice system. You know, from coming to court time after time, it can drag on senselessly, to have to listen to some of the details of the crime itself. It really can be emotionally just draining and so hard for family members, and we all recognize that. And so we do everything that we can to try to support the family members through this. But we don't do it alone. We do it in large part with the assistance of CVAP, with the Crime Victim Assistance Program. And I, for one, after all these years, I'm so grateful to collaborate and work with members of that team to support the family members. Some of the things that we get assistance with them from is, you know, helping families navigate getting reimbursement for funeral expenses, also with securing mental health and grief counseling, which is so important. You know, it's hard as lawyers to be there in the courtroom for the families because we're engaged in the actual process of the court proceeding. Whereas, you know, when there's members of crime victims there, it's so helpful. They sit with the family members, they explain to them the process. They, even if it's just holding their hand or listening and you know, keeping them updated. You know, sometimes they call the ADAs and they talk to them about the court date and what's happening with the system. And I know that, you know, there's other groups out there like the Parents of Murdered Children, which have been so beneficial, I think, to parents who've lost a child to an act of violence. And I think that that has had such a positive impact on so many families that I have dealt with. So I think that, you know, everybody in my bureau is cognizant of the struggles that they go through. And I think that working with crime victims and the other organizations to help the families certainly, you know, builds trust in the community and provides a support system for them. Another thing that I'm very grateful for is, for the first time in Queens County, DA Katz has established the cold case unit in Queens County, which investigates the borough's unsolved homicide cases. As in the Homicide Bureau, we work extensively with the New York City Police Department to make every effort to solve these homicide cases as quickly as possible. But that is not always what happens. And so, you know, you tend to see that there is a growing backlog of unsolved murder cases. And that is also very taxing on family members who don't yet have justice or closure. And so one of the things that we have done under DA Katz's leadership is to create a cold case social media flyer. And we will attach a photo of the victim and a brief facts that goes around. And what we're really trying to do is engage the community and see if we can develop some potential leads and let people know that, you know, while, you know, these cases have not yet been solved, they are not and they will not be forgotten. And the Bureau will continue to fight and to do everything possible to solve these cases. So I believe that, you know, the contact information for the Bureau will be shared with the members of you know, this meeting. And if there's anything that the Bureau, the Homicide Bureau, the cold case unit can do for families or other cases, please do not hesitate to let us know. Thank you so much for including us in this.
Thank you, Deputy Chief Ross. My name is Dina Ann Binder, and I'm a crime victim advocate and LMSW at the QDA. Our last QDA panelist is Unit Chief of the Domestic Violence Bureau, Mary Kate Quinn. In 2010, Mary Kate Quinn joined the Queens District Attorney's Office as an ADA in the Domestic Violence Bureau, where she is currently a Unit Chief. Mary Kate also teaches in the Queens DA's Prosecution Clinic at St. John's University School of Law. Please welcome Unit Chief Mary Quinn.
Thank you so much, Dina. Thank you, DA Katz. It is so wonderful to be a part of this panel with all of my colleagues, and wonderful to see everyone's faces. I want to start with a very basic message from the Domestic Violence Bureau. And that message is, you are not alone. We are here to help. That is the message that DA Katz delivered to survivors of domestic violence when she promised to work collaboratively to keep victims safe when she first took office. It's the message she delivered to survivors in the early days of the pandemic when she created a 24-hour domestic violence helpline, guaranteeing survivors access to an assistant district attorney 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so that no one would ever have to feel alone and unsafe in their home. And that's something so important. I want to just repeat that DA Katz has made an assistant district attorney available to survivors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And all you need to do is call. And we gave you the helpline number earlier, but again, it's 718-286-4410. And that message that you are not alone is a message we deliver to survivors every single day at the Family Justice Center. So who is fighting for you? Who is fighting for the survivors of DV in Queens County? It's a true team effort at the Family Justice Center. The Family Justice Center is not just home to the Domestic Violence Bureau, but it's run by the Mayor's Office to End Domestic and Gender-Based Violence. And it's home to so many service agencies and providers. It is a true one-stop shop for victims of domestic violence. But let me start with the ADAs. So if you or someone that you love reports that they have been abused by an intimate partner, the case will be handled by an ADA trained to truly understand the dynamics of power and control, the cycle of abuse, someone who understands the trauma associated with DV, someone who understands the pressures that you may face from family, from friends, or even your community. Someone who will take the time not just to prosecute the case, but to get to the root of the problem and to provide the victims with support to keep them safe. And it's in that goal that our partners at the Family Justice Center play such an important role. Because after you meet with an ADA at the Family Justice Center, you'll be referred to the Family Justice Center frontline staff. And they will assign you with a case manager specifically tailored to meet your needs, whatever your individual needs may be. So whether you work with someone from Safe Horizon, Arab American Family Support Center, Garden of Hope, Korean American Family Service Center, Voces Latina, Savi, Sanctuary for Families, Met Council, or the Women's Prisons Association, just to name a few of our partners, you will be met with someone dedicated to keeping you safe, keeping you informed, and helping you navigate the criminal justice system. Someone who knows that domestic violence affects people of every age, every gender, background, every status, someone who will take the time to understand you. Someone who recognizes that each situation is different and will help you safety plan, whether that means finding shelter or housing, obtaining a lock change, or helping you relocate. Someone will be there to provide you with counseling and will support your mental and emotional well-being. Whatever your concern, we will find a way to help. If you have concerns about employment or finances, you might be referred to job training, resume assistance. You may be given free computer and internet access to help you become self-sufficient. Perhaps you'll be referred to educational programs to help with anything from budgeting, career planning, or even English as a second language. If you need help navigating family court, you may be assigned a free civil attorney who will help you obtain orders of protection in family court, navigate divorce, visitation, child support, and housing proceedings, custody battles. If you have concerns about your legal status, know that just as Eric said, we will never question you and we will only want to help. We work so closely with our Office of Immigrant Affairs, the service providers, and CVAP to make sure that all survivors are treated fairly and receive the support they need regardless of their status. So what I want you to know is while some of our services have gone virtual, whether it's in person or virtual, the Queens Family Justice Center, the Domestic Violence Bureau of the Queens District Attorney's Office, and all of our partners are here for you. At the height of the pandemic, we never stopped collaborating to keep you safe, and we can promise that we never will. As I said before, it's a true team effort. It's a team dedicated to making sure our survivors know that DA Katz's message is true. You are not alone. We are here to help. And you can always call. And I'll just give you that number one more time, 718-286-4410. And thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Chief Quinn. I'll be introducing our first performer of the night, Mike Mitch. Surrounded by the transcending culture and music, Mike Mitch was born and raised in Harlem, New York. His love for music influenced him to create his own. At that point, he began recording music, writing poetry, and songwriting. Through his music, he strives to showcase his truths to grow and inspire self-growth in others. He uses the words and songs to promote transparency, progression, and acceptance of your own life story. Here is Mike Mitch performing Men Cry.
Thank you for having me. With this song, I'm going to focus on, it's called Men Cry, that I'll be performing today. It touches on showing that softer side of men and being okay with allowing our true feelings and vulnerability to come out. I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, baby.
fall, but I let them fly. I ain't wanna let them fall, but I let them fly. Men cry, I've been overwhelmed way too many times. I've been overwhelmed way too many times. Men cry, searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Men cry, hope you understand, can we compromise? Hope you understand, can we compromise? And to my spirit, I'm open to healing. These beats and these cadences handle my feelings. My logic a killer, but I am not heartless. I view from perspectives that's larger than mine. Keeping in mind that your thinking may differ from mine, and I think that you think that I'm blind. Blind in emotions, I feel it all. I just saw through the commotion, relate to your notions, but men cry. Used to be ashamed to let them on my eyes. Masculinity related that to weakness with those ties, so I used to hide. Lingering and I'm feeling inside through this suit and tie. I may emphasize that I'm fine through my gloomy days, through my wins and losses, open blinds. You may seem amazed, think I'm really strong, but I'm not. What I show on face, then I keep inside. Gotta stop, take it day by day. Highs and lows, I'm praying for my mind, praying for my loved ones, praying for some time for me to make some time, making sense of everything I find in a way you can interpret what I think and what I mean through communications and with patience. No, it won't be easy, and it's never too late to reinvent yourself. It's beneficial to you, but better for myself. And I done cried 100 times, wiping tears on my flooded eyes. I ain't wanna let them fall, but I let them fly. I ain't wanna let them fall, but I let them fly. But men cry, I've been overwhelmed way too many times. I've been overwhelmed way too many times. Men cry, searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Men cry, hope you understand, can we compromise? Hope you understand, can we compromise? Men cry, I ain't wanna let them fall, but I let them fly. Men cry. Men cry, I've been overwhelmed way too many times. Men cry. Men cry, searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Searching for an outlet what I feel inside. Men cry, hope you understand, can we compromise? Hope you understand, can we compromise? But men cry.
Grieving and sharing your true feelings. How did you go about that?
Men cry.
What is grieving?
I cried. Men can cry. Like, there's a connotation that we can't, but I allow myself to break down.
Thank you, Mike, for such a wonderful performance. Our next presenters are Rita Abadi and Lindsay Curtis from the Mount Sinai Sexual Assault and Violence Intervention Program. Lindsay Curtis is the Training, Outreach, and Education Supervisor at SAVI and has a strong commitment to anti-violence work since 2016. Rita Abadi is the Operations Manager and Clinician for the SAVI program in Queens. She is fluent in 4 languages and has over 25 years of experience working with immigrants and culturally specific groups in the US and in Latin America. Please welcome Rita and Lindsay.
Hi, I'm going to start talking a little bit about SAVI. My name is Rita, and I work for over 20 years with the Queens DA's office. And since the Family Justice Center opened in 2007. At SAVI, we provide trauma-informed services for survivors of gender-based violence. All the clinicians that serve the clients are licensed and are trained in different trauma modalities. We also have an emergency department advocacy program and an outreach and training and education program. We are based in Queens and in Manhattan, and we are slowly expanding to Brooklyn. We have a number of different programs within SAVI. Enough is Enough, the Title IX programming, colleges. We have a sexual assault forensic examiners that's called SAFE program that responds to the emergency rooms after a rape. We have the Takanot program that is a program developed specifically for the Jewish Orthodox community. And we have a program against commercial sexual exploitation. What we are doing in the therapeutic part of the program is to address the trauma response for victims of crimes. We work directly with so many different departments, like the bureaus at the Queens DA's office, with the Trafficking Bureau, the Domestic Violence Bureau, and the Special Victims Bureau. What we are doing is to help trauma survivors, people that have been exposed to a situation where they have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event, we are helping them to overcome the trauma and to heal from the event they experienced. We need to help class survivors in terms of mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. The type of therapy that we are thinking about is rooted in the need to connect the trauma experience and the survivor's emotional and behavioral response that is usually disconnected because of the trauma. The purpose of the trauma-focused therapy is to offer skills and strategies to assist survivors in better understanding, coping with, and processing the emotions and memories tied to the traumatic experiences. And it's very important that we are all here together because healing from trauma takes a village. Lindsay?
Thank you, Rita, for that wonderful introduction to Savvy. Thank you so much. I'm the Training Outreach and Education Supervisor for the Mount Sinai Sexual Assault and Violence Intervention Program. At heart, I'm a preventionist, so seeing so many different people represented here is really powerful because prevention is all about teamwork. It takes a community to respond and to prevent sexual and domestic violence. So thank you so much for inviting me into this space. I'll tell you a little bit about our education department. So we have a large reach in the community in Manhattan and Queens, working with the public to understand sexual and intimate partner violence, the dynamics involved, and how to address it within different communities, as well as providing resources. So we're working on helping people understand what should a healthy relationship look like, what is consent, what is intimate partner violence, and what is sexual violence, but also making sure people understand that if something should occur, what are their rights, and where can they go for support, both from criminal justice perspective, from different social work organizations in the city, and many more. Savvy works with public libraries, community centers, public housing networks, medical professionals, and social workers, and many more different groups of people in the city. So not only do we work directly with our young people and at-risk populations, but we also work with different people who may be involved in those people's lives in some way, so that if they come across someone who may be experiencing this kind of violence, they know how to respond in a trauma-informed way and give them direction in terms of what their next steps are. Savvy has an extensive campus education team, which serves about 10 college campuses around the city. That includes in Queens, we have LaGuardia Community College, we have York, we have St. John's University, and several more. So we work to educate students on their rights as victims as well. We have in New York State the Enough is Enough law, which helps to strengthen the rights of students if they experience gender-based, power-based interpersonal violence on their college campuses. So we work to support both students and universities. And we like to make sure the public understands that their rights, and it's one of the most important aspects of our work. So what does it look like when you need to make a report? What does it look like when you go to the hospital if you need support there after an incident of violence? So thank you so much for having us, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rita and Lindsay. My name is Saida Hawk. I'm a bilingual crime victim advocate and social worker. Our next community panelist is Dale Carter. She is the Safe Horizon Director of both the Queens Criminal Court Reception Center program and the Queens Family Justice Center. In her current position, she manages Safe Horizon staff, programs, and services for all victims of crime, including confidential assistance for victims and survivors of domestic violence and gender-based violence. Welcome, Dale Carter.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me. Safe Horizon is the nation's leading victim assistance organization. We have several programs located throughout the 5 boroughs of New York City in courthouses, police precincts, shelters, family justice centers, child advocacy centers, and community offices. Safe Horizon's priority is the safety of those who seek assistance. At the Queens Family Justice Center, we see intimate partner violence, trafficking, and elder abuse. We also see family violence cases, but in those occasions, clients will get screened and be referred out to family court or a criminal court program. It will be a warm handoff. At the Queens Family Justice Center, Safe Horizon has 11 case managers, 4 that do intake and screening, and 7 case managers that work directly with clients. We also have 3 case managers who work in the Queens Criminal Court Reception Center, and they see all crime victims. Some other agencies co-located at the Queens Family Justice Center are NYPD, Arab American Restore, Women's Prison Association, SAVI, Barry for Living, Korean American, VIP, Garden of Hope, Met Council, Queens Legal Services, Her Justice, Urban Justice Center, Safe Horizon DVLP, LIFT, Queens Offenders, and the Queens District Attorney's Office. There's so many co-located there. Since we've been working remotely, clients will call the Queens Family Justice Center main line. They'll get screened and get connected with a case manager who will assess their need for services. Case managers conduct a safety assessment with clients and provide a safety plan for them. No safety plan is the same. They are tailored to the client's specific needs. Case managers speak with clients about what makes them reach out for help and then prioritize what assistance they are looking for. Some services at the Queens Family Justice Center are immigration legal, family legal, individual counseling, children's counseling, financial planning, tech abuse, housing legal, HRA, housing assistance. We have attorneys on site, remotely, who help clients obtain a family court order protection, shelter placement, and victim compensation.
Ms. Carter, I'm so sorry to interrupt. If you can just slow it down just a bit for our translators.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much.
Safe Horizon's 24-hour toll-free hotline is a gateway for many of the city's crime victims to get assistance each year. Hotline advocates provide crisis counseling, safety planning, assistance finding shelter, referrals to Safe Horizon programs or other organizations, advocacy with the police, and other crucial services. Safe Horizon's domestic violence hotline is 1-800-621-4673. Again, that's 1-800-621-HOPE. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. Our next panelist is Carolyn Dixon. She is the CEO of Where Do We Go From Here? In her work, she aims to help families affected by gun violence and helps them transition from being stuck in the grieving process to living a new life without their loved ones. Please let us welcome Carolyn Dixon.
Thank you. Much love and blessings to everyone. And first off, I want to give my love and my sincere prayers to those who are victims and survivors of any crimes. Where Do We Go From Here was established when my son was murdered in front of me over a parking incident. My question to my mother was, where do I go from here? And she said, live. Through my journey, I was lost, I was stuck. I didn't understand the grieving process. I didn't understand the trauma that I was going through. So I birthed Where Do We Go From Here? And in order to do that, I had to get educated and learn about trauma, grief, and the healing process. And through that, I was able to do that when I attended the new school. Where do we go from here? Mainly work in South Jamaica, but my phone is open 24/7 for any borough. What we offer is healing circles, role plays, arts and craft, training on understanding trauma and understanding the grieving process. What I find in the Black and Brown community, we are not taught that. We're taught to sweep everything under the rug. With my close allies, such as Moms Demand Action, Guns Down, Life Up, Life Camp, we have built a foundation where we can support these families. Half of the time, 24/7, we run to the hospital to give that family support as soon as a victim is shot. I myself have sat there with a victim shot as he laid in the streets until police have come. I have been with families who don't understand what they have gone through and are stuck in their new life on trying to overcome the trauma that they're going through. I myself had to learn how to love myself again due to the grief and the guilt that I carried within me. Many survivors who are on this call understand what it means to lose everything, to lose your identity. I myself was homeless. So now we have a committee, a board committee with the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, where it's a group of survivors, and we work towards getting all the needed resources that survivors need in order to move on with their new life without their loved ones. What we have to learn to know as survivors, we have the right to live. We have the right to heal. We have the right to no longer live through dehumanized loss. And when I say dehumanized loss, I did that. I would not grieve the way I needed to grieve in order to keep my community together. So my number is 718, nope, take that back, 917-935-5646. I answer my phone 24/7. If there's any survivor who is on this call that just need to talk and cry, we are here. We have other agencies, other grassroots organizations in every borough who is willing to help. So my thing is love, as my son would always say. And where do we go from here? We heal together as one. Thank you, Melinda Katz. Thank you, everybody that's on this call. Much love and support. I have another Zoom call with some chief of police right now in order to do some work with survivors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon, for all the work that you do. Our next panelist is Susan McGee, co-leader of Parents of Murdered Children, Queens Chapter. She is certified by National POMC organization. Thank you for joining us, Ms. McGee.
Hi, Maria. Nice seeing you. Thanks, Ms. D.A. Katz, for having us here. My name is Susan McGee. My son, Julian Michael Smith Jr., was murdered on February 8, 2009. He was an innocent bystander leaving a party. A fight between two young men broke out. One pulled the gun, pulled the trigger, and the gun jammed. He pulled it again and shot and killed my son. I'm here to talk to you about a great organization, the National Organization of Parents of Murdered Children, Incorporated, POMC for short. An organization that has gotten me through this so far 12-year journey that I didn't choose. The funeral home informed me about another fantastic program that offers services to survivors of crime. The Crime Victims Advocacy Program. I attended this program in April of 2009. There I met a woman named Marilyn McNeil, whose son Larry was murdered October 29, 2004. She gave me her card and invited me to attend a support meeting, and I did. The third Wednesday in May of 2009, Parents of Murdered Children, Queens, New York chapter has become the place where my Julian still lives. To realize there are people who really understand this journey I'm on has been comforting. I have been a member ever since. I attended my first annual national conference in August of 2010 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. In 2014, I became secretary of POMC Queens chapter. I was certified by the national organization in July 2016 and recently became co-leader of the Queens chapter. I invite anyone who feels they can benefit from a support group of people who know what you're going through. We welcome mothers, fathers, siblings, children, or anyone who has been affected by a loved one's murder. Our meetings are now by phone, the third Wednesday of every month. As a matter of fact, there's a meeting tonight. The telephone number is 425-436-6363, access code 882-9932. POMC became my hope, and we may be that for you too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGee. Our last community panelist for tonight is Jihye Fisher, Executive Director of the Korean American Family Services Center in Queens. She is an appointed member of the Fatality Review Committee by the Mayor's Office. She serves as a board member of the Korean American Association of Greater New York and Mekong NYC. Welcome, Jihye Fisher.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you, Queens District Attorney Melinda Katz and her team for providing this important space. My name is Jihye Fisher, the Executive Director at the Korean American Family Service Center, also known as KFSC. So KFSC has provided culturally and linguistically sensitive services to the community for 32 years, and we have developed best practices and expertise in serving the many existing cultural nuances that are barriers to seeking help, and use tools and techniques that are culturally appropriate and most relevant to Korean, Asian, immigrant survivors of gender-based violence, including domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and child abuse. Although all our services are available to all, regardless of their ethnic backgrounds, we target underserved Korean Asian community in the greater New York tri-state area, with domestic violence so prevalent in our community and with the Korean culture facing culturally unique barriers. There's a great need for the provision of culturally and linguistically sensitive service that KFSC provides. We provide the comprehensive programs and services, 24-hour bilingual hotline, only one on the East Coast, crisis intervention, case management, counseling. During this National Crime Victims Rights Week, I would like to also highlight that KFSC provides assistance with the Crime Victims Board applications for those who are victims of crimes, emergency shelter and long-term housing, legal services through partner agencies, economic empowerment, including job searching, counseling, workforce development classes, educational scholarships, and we also have robust children and youth programs, Hodori After School Program, Youth Community Project Team, and we do a lot of outreach education, and we have 70 dedicated volunteers. And just want to note that last year in 2020 alone, we have responded to a total of 4,064 hotline calls, 88% of whom were related to domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, or trafficking cases. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic and economic shutdown, KFSC was the only Asian community-based organization physically open to the public, and we stepped into the role of providing a myriad of services that have not normally been our target area. KFSC continues to provide crisis intervention and COVID-19 related services to our community for small business loans, emergency fund application, public benefits, health insurance enrollment, and more through both in-person and virtual appointments. Just want to point out that research has shown that in times of crisis, domestic violence incidents increase and abusers will use this situation to their advantage, further isolating their victims or using threats or intimidation of exposure to the virus as a method of control and power. And we have seen this through our cases. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, between April and June of 2020, we responded to a total of 1,283 hotline calls compared to in 2019, where we received 424 hotline calls. So our call volume to 24-hour hotline has tripled during this time. Many of our clients are digitally illiterate and limited English proficiency. Therefore, although we encourage clients to engage over the phone or virtually, in many cases, it was not possible. With schools and business closed and families forced to be physically together, our clients had difficulty finding a safe place at home to speak with our counselors. There's no privacy or a confidential place, method, or option to seek help while socially isolated. Therefore, it was critical that we were open physically for appointments to invite our clients to be vulnerable in a safe, confidential location within a culturally competent and linguistically appropriate setting. So during this COVID-19, we also provided other services, like I mentioned before, such as food giving initiative, where we delivered and provided more than 18,000 ethnically familiar meals to our immigrant survivors and their children over the past 12 months. And we also have been diligently disseminating information, COVID-19 related information, including pop-up testing sites. And we recently became an authorized vaccine scheduler, helping our community members to be able to make vaccine appointments since we have the cultural and language capabilities. And I would like to also point out that during this time with the rise in anti-Asian hate crime, we've been assisting the victims of bias incidents. And Crime Victim Board application has been really helpful for and resourceful for our clients and victims. And KFSC also joined as one of the on-site partner at QFJC, Queens Family Justice Center last year, and we're just really eager to partner with all of you, and also very grateful to partner with everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, G. Hay Fisher. Next, we have a performance by singer-songwriter Kristen Josell, hailing from Brooklyn, New York.
Instead
been stumbling and blind, had part of our mind looking for a sign. But with punching fists in open air, we fight the voices that call us down to deeper parts of our despair. With hands outstretched, we grasp and hold, though fleeting, fragile. We seem to know. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. This is just for a night. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. 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 We gon' be alright.
Thank you for that performance, Kristen Joselle. Right now, what's next for us is our video of remembrance. This is a video that includes all of the lost loved ones that we've had and here in Queens County. We continue to honor you and your family members. Please join us as we continue with this moment, as we honor our lost ones. Thank you.
Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength and my pride. Only God may know why. Still I will get by. Suddenly so fast. How could it be that our sweet memories were beyond all that we have planned? Now that you're gone, every day I go on, but life's just not the same. I'm so empty inside, and my tears I can't hide. But I'll try to face the pain. Though I'm missing you, I'll find a way to get through. Living without you, 'cause you were my sister, my strength and my pride. Only God may know why. Still I will get by. There were so many things that we could have said.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why'd you have to leave so soon, yeah? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't really know how to tell you without feeling much worse. I know you're in a better place, but it's always gonna hurt. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. How do I breathe without you? I'm feeling so cold. I'll be waiting right here for you till the day you're home. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. So let the light guide your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as you go, and every road you take will always lead you home. Oh, it's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. When I see you again, see you again. When I see you again.
Thank you for all the family members that have shared their loved ones with us. We continue to remember you, and we will continue to support you. Doesn't matter how many years it has been, we continue to be here with you. Before our benediction, we will have Chief Executive ADA Jen Nyberg, who would like to add a few words tonight.
Thank you, Jessica. That was absolutely beautiful. I want to just take this opportunity to say that I'm honored on behalf of DA Katz as her Chief Assistant to be here amongst this group of strong, committed victims' rights advocates, both within our office, within our crime victims agency, and our partners, these advocacy groups who are all represented here today. I thank each and every one of you for your commitment and the work you do every day. I'm hopeful that everyone turning in tonight has seen that the support systems available for the victims of crimes are sincere and they are abundant. In many instances, the support that you need is only a phone call away. You're the reason that each of us do what we do every day. Please know that we're always here to help. Thank you to everybody who's participating in tonight's event.
Thank you, Chief Nyberg. Now we have Reverend Dolores Barrett of the Brooks Memorial UMC Church. Thank you so much, Reverend Barrett.
Yes. Grace and peace to everyone. I am so truly honored to be here tonight, an invitee by our DA, Melinda Katz, and to be among this beautiful and wonderful and awesome panelists. My God, a wealth of information. May God continue to bless you all and give you the abundance of your heart that you continue to do the work that He has called each and every one of you for such a time like this. Amen. And so, Almighty God, who has been our dwelling place through all generations, we turn to face you again, fully burdened for our sisters and brothers who have been victimized by crimes and have perpetrated crimes. We commend them all to you, even as we seek a fresh encounter with you. Give us the grace and mercy we need to become enablers and protectors of life. Shine your light for us and on us so that we can see the path we must go and ourselves as your servants. Give us the wisdom to discern your will and the courage to do what we must do to make it real. Eternal God, envelop us with your grace, mercy, peace, power, and love, and contain us in the midst of your sufficiency. Send us on our way now to do your will, always seeking to be your life in this world that has become so impacted by crimes, suffering, and death. Lord God, be our God as we continue to attempt to become more fully your people as you have called us to be. Now go forth into the world in peace, be of good courage, hold fast to that which is good. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Barrett, for your words of encouragement. As we close our program tonight, I want to thank each of you for spending this time with us. Our goal for tonight was to provide you information on how you can engage and be supported by our office and community partners. Thank you to our translators tonight, Juan Carlos, Elizabeth Bain, Roika Akhtar, for providing translation services for us today. And thank you to each of our panelists who provided a wealth of information for us tonight. And most of all, thank you for all families, loved ones, crime victims, and community members that have joined us tonight. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.